What's going on, everyone? I'm finally back with doing a pointers tutorial for Cheat Engine. A lot of you have requested this, and it's been like a year in the making, but between life circumstances and trying to think of a creative way to explain all this, um, you know, unfortunately, it's taken a while to get to this step, but here we are. All right. Um, Basically, I've tried to come up with a very creative and simple way to represent pointers in a way that's not so abstract for those of you who know nothing about them. All right. Any of you developers out there, any of you that know stuff about pointers, a lot of what I'm going to say with explaining them will be actually kind of backwards of how pointers work. But I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned with getting people to learn kind of how they can do pointer scans in the context of Cheat Engine and video games. So, for anyone who's interested in programming and stuff like that, if you get into learning pointers from a technical perspective and how they actually work, um, you're not going to be hindered by anything that I'm showing you. I'm just trying to simply explain, pointers. All right, so this is going to be like 2, 3, maybe even 4 videos. In this one, I'm just going to start off with explaining pointers, showing you a basic pointer scan using Cheat Engine, and covering, some other small things along the way. If you don't understand some of what I'm talking about, I'm going to assume that you know some of the things I've discussed in my previous tutorials. So make sure you go back and watch those if you're just hitting this one and you don't understand some of what I'm covering. All right, so with that said, I'm going to start off by giving you all an idea of pointers. All right, like a way to think about pointers that, you know, will hopefully make them less abstract. All right, so I want you to pretend that you have made up a word. All right, let's say Quidgibo. That's your word. You just made that word up. Quidgibo. All right, let's say you tell someone Quidgibo. They learn Quidgibo. They go tell someone else Quidgibo. That person knows Quidgibo. Then they say Quidgibo to another person. And that person turns to them and says, Quidgibo? Like, where did you hear that? Where did you learn Quidgibo? And they say, oh, I heard it from this person over here. So then you go to that person and you say, Quidgibo, where did you hear Quidgibo from? Where did you learn that? And they go, oh, that's simple. I heard it from this guy. He made it up. So then you go to that guy and you say, did you make up Quidgibo? And they say, yes, I made up Quidgibo. I am where that originated from. All right? That's kind of a way to think about pointer scanning. When you scan for a value and you get that value, okay, most often this value is in a place that will change. It is not where it originated from. All right? So we're using Cheat Engine to ask this address, hey, we see that you have this value, but we know that you aren't where this value originates from. Where did you get this value from? Hello, address. Where did you get this value from? Where did you get 986 from? Where does that originate? So when we do a pointer scan with Cheat Engine, we're asking this address where it got its value from. And with Cheat Engine's built-in pointer scanning functionality, it'll ask that question for you in different places that it finds that value. It sees the value that it thinks references this part in memory or has something to do with it, and it says, hey, where did you get this value from? And it says, oh, hey, I got it from this address. And then it goes to that address, and it says, hey, where did you get this value from, or how is it related to you? It points to another address in memory and says, oh, hey, I got it from here, right? So that is kind of like an overly simplified way to get you to think about pointer scanning and what you're trying to accomplish, okay? So in our scenario, addresses are people And the value here is the word Quijibo. And we're the ones seeing the value or hearing the word Quijibo and asking this person or this address, where did you hear this from? I want to know where that originated. That's what you're doing with pointer scanning. You're finding the origin. You're finding the base address where the value is originating. All right? I hope that kind of makes sense. Listen to it again and try to put it in other context if you want. You know, like imagine someone gives you a $5 bill and you say, "Thanks for the $5 bill. Where did you get it from?" And they say, "Oh, I got it from the ATM over here." So then you go to the ATM or whatever, and it's like, where did this ATM get this $5 bill from? Well, they got it from the dude in the money truck that filled the ATM machine. All right? So then, where did that guy with that truck get the $5 bill from? Well, they got it from the bank. Okay? Where did the bank get it from? The bank got it from the press, where the money was first printed. That $5 bill was first printed and pressed. All right? You started with the value of the which would be the $5 bill. The person that gave it to you, which would be this address, and you asked, "Hey, where did you get that $5 bill from?" And then you just go up the line, all right? That's also a convenient way to think of it for later when you get more advanced with pointer scanning and you start using, you start doing manual pointer scanning, which can get complex. And it can take a lot of time, and it can be really confusing initially. But, that's for a future video. I'll cover those in a future video. But this will get you kind of thinking in the right way to understanding a little more about what you're doing, okay? Now, with that out of the way, I searched for, this was initially 999, all right? When I started the game, I was at 999 hit points. So I searched for 999, all right? My value type was 2 bytes, all right? And I got all these results initially. So then I went and fought a creature, and I got, damaged, however much this is, and the value changed in this one location. I didn't need to scan for a new value because I see that on this whole list of results, this was the only one that changed, all right? Another quick way, whenever you're going through results to see what changed, is to look at the color, all right? Values that change will be represented by the color red. All that says is this value changed since you scanned for it, all right? So when I did the scan, 999 was the value. Now the value is 986. We could scroll through the list real quick and just look for red and then see what the value changed to, all right? So that's what red is. Black, over here with the addresses, black signifies a dynamic memory address. The value in this address will not be the same if we close this out and reopen it and reattach. The value, it might possibly be the same. It's possible, but highly unlikely, okay? So that's why we do pointer scans, because we want to find the base address that will always have the value of whatever we're looking for. So we could open the game, we could attach cheat engine, we can open the table that we save with our values, our results, and then right there the values will be. We won't have to scan for it anymore unless something changes with the game, like there's an update or DLC comes out. Then you'll have to scan again, and then you can save that list, okay? Last but not least, we have green. Green addresses are base addresses, all right? Meaning that whatever this value is, whatever it's representing in the game or whatever with the emulator, whatever, all right, whatever that value represents, this number is always going to be representing that thing, whatever it is. So we could add, basically, if we search for 999 and all we got was one result, this one right here, and we see that it's green, and we identified that that is what we're searching for, you wouldn't have to do any pointer scanning because you found a green address. You found the base address that's got your value in it. That's a really, really rare scenario. It happens, but rarely. So just be aware of that. That's very important. You don't want to waste your time doing pointer scans for things that you don't need to do a pointer scan for, and it most likely won't work anyway. All right? So now that you've got that, back to what we're doing here. We have a dynamic value that we know will change. So I double-clicked this. I added it down here to the address list. I'm going to change the description here to health. Okay. All right. We can make sure that this is our health by changing it to, let's say, 960. Okay. Go back into the game here. Let me grab my controller. Boom, 960. All right. So we know that that's right. So now we want to do the whole pointer scan thing. We want to ask this address where on earth it's getting this value from, right? Because we know it's not originating here. We want to know where it's originating. So you can right-click here and say pointer scan for this address. Don't worry about any of this right now. Just say OK. It'll ask you where you want to store your results, okay? So this saves the results from the pointer scan that you're going to do. That is going to come in handy later. You will absolutely need to know all this if you're going to do pointer scanning in modern games like Borderlands 2 or something like that, okay? So right now we're just going to save it as 1.ptr, which I already have one of here because I did one earlier, so we'll just overwrite it. All right, here's our pointer scan. All right, it comes back with 4 base addresses. Now, you can have more than one base address that has your value, okay? Don't think about this too hard because, you know, this kind of throws off my whole explanation of finding one point of origin for your value. Don't overthink it. Just understand that there's more than one place that you can have like a base address with your value, okay? So double click on each one. We'll add it to our address list here. Close this. All right. Now, see our value 960? Why is the value represented like this? Did we find the right results? Well, if you watched my previous videos, then you'll know the importance that I place upon keeping up with your value types, especially when you scan. All right. If we select all these and we right click and we say change the record type to be represented in 2 bytes, not 4 bytes. There, see, 2 bytes, 2 bytes. Now we know what we're working with, okay? These 4 results have our value. Sometimes the pointer results that you find won't necessarily be the base address, and you'll have to close the game, reopen the game, do a new pointer scan, and you base the new pointer scan off of the results of the pointer scan that you just did. Okay? So in a game like Borderlands 2, you can do a pointer scan and it will take a while to finish. All right? Depending on your processor, it can take a while. Minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. I mean, it really depends on your specs. But anyway, once you do that, you can get tons of results. The first scan can give you millions of results, okay? So then what you do is you take that, you save it, you close Borderlands, you reopen it, and what it does is you kind of have to understand how memory works and how when you load something, it doesn't always load in the same place in memory, right? So when you reload a game, it loads things in slightly different places in memory. Then when you do a new pointer scan and you base it on an old pointer scan, it uses that information to try to whittle down your results more and more and more and more. You can end up with, I don't know, 4, 5 9, 10, 11 pointer scans total before you get down to your, a solid list of base addresses. All right, so that's just to note for your future use. So now what we can do is, we won't worry about changing those names right now. We can change all of these if we want. 998. All right, we see that influenced all of these. We can go back in the game here. Pause. We see that that changed. All right. Now we can close all of this. All right, we can close the game. What you'll want to do is save as first. All right, we'll save it as FF for Final Fantasy. Yes. All right. Now, if you closed Cheat Engine and you closed the game and you reopen Cheat Engine and you reattach it to the game once you've opened the game, all right, then you could say File, Load, and then you would load your cheat table that you saved with your pointer scan results, right? All right, so just pretend I did that in Cheat Engine. I'm going to close FCEUX. All right, you see there's question marks here because Cheat Engine is not attached any longer. Let's open FCEUX. We'll attach the ROM, Final Fantasy. Click Start. Continue. All right, now we need to reattach Cheat Engine. All right, keep the current address. Yes. If we had just opened Cheat Engine, we wouldn't have anything here, and we would have loaded our cheat table, so that wouldn't have asked that question. But anyway, here's our pointer scan results. Now we just reloaded the ROM. We can instantly go ahead and go in and use any of these to change 992. All right, so boom. Our health has changed. We know that we found some good base addresses that will modify our values. We don't have to search for that health for this character anymore. That's pretty cool, right? So, you can do that for every character, or you can start mixing and matching techniques from my previous tutorials, like browsing memory regions, right? Browse the memory region. For this value, it's right here, all right, represented by 2 bytes. So this is 1 byte, 2 bytes. So the combination of these bytes and hex equals 992, all right? And remember, in my previous videos, if you watched, we looked for traits that would, let us see if character data was within close proximity to, each other without having to do more and more scans. So we had identified A as being this guy. And look how close this was. BBB, that's that guy. C, that's this one. And finally D. Or D. And so, in relation to that, go down one line, and these 2 bytes are representing the health. So if we go down to 8B here, and go down a line, and we see this, what happens if we change this to FF? Come back in here. All right, there we go. There's that. All right. So we see 255 out of 30. That doesn't look right. Well, luckily, look at this. E003, E703. These 2 bytes represent this number. These 2 bytes represent this number. All right. And this is just stuff that we figured out, right? My other tutorial where I cover browsing memory regions, we discussed this. All right. So we know that FF00, that's 255, represented in 2 bytes. This one's not counting. So this 1E is this 30. So if we change that to FF and we refresh this, there we go. 255 out of 255, right? So I'll show you in a future video, how to add your own base pointers. Play around. We did this. We just modified this, guys. How can you add this to your address list? How can you add the pointer to your address list? Just try to mess around and stuff like that. So yeah. Anyway, last thing of note, because we kept our scan list from the previous, whenever we first got into the video, I had FCEUX open, but we closed it and we reopened it, and we reopened the ROM, right? This dynamic value changed. It was 999 when we did our scan when it was open previously. Now, this value of 0, who knows what it is, but it's not our health. So that's why we did the pointer scan initially. Now, what was here is in this address right now. So look, C70A, C70A, it looks like they might be the same if you just looked at the end. But 02AB, 02BE, it's off just enough. It's in a different place in memory. So anyway, play around, get your feet wet, get your hands dirty, whatever analogy you prefer there. I hope this made some sense to you. Feel free to ask some questions. I'll try to get around to them. I'm trying to get really busy with my YouTube channel, so I may miss some of the stuff that you guys request. I don't do much like specifically trying to help do things in games unless it's a game I'm interested in and I want to do, so just want to put that out there. But in the next video, we'll go deeper into the automated pointer scanning, and we'll do it with a game like Borderlands 2, and I'll show you how the values can take a while to whittle your way down to. Then in a video after that, I'll start covering manual pointer scanning, and that gets complex, but if you learn this stuff right now from this perspective, you will be so ready to do manual pointer scanning, it's not even funny. So don't beat your brain up if you don't get it. Don't stress out. Watch the video again. Let it sink in. Open up Notepad, grab a pen and paper, do whatever you need to do, write shit down, think of stuff in a different way that relates, and have fun. Have fun learning and cheating, I guess. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Like, favorite, subscribe, do all that shit, and I will talk to you in the next video. Take care.